Jeff,
Jeff,
what?
this is your
Oh,
third
sorry.
year.
Go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry, Craig. Jeff, this is your third year with Pitt. Third time going up against Duke. Does it get any less weird, going up against your alma mater, or is it still kind of different for you?
It's still different. It's still different, but I'm used to it now. It's not like it was the first time, but it's still different.
Jeff, this is your third time, or this is your third season facing Duke here. You were obviously an assistant coach there for 7 previous seasons, so you know this program very well. I mean, what differentiates the Duke team based on this Duke team based on what you've seen so far from some of those previous ones?
Well, they're a little bit younger. They're playing more young guys. They don't have a lot of experienced older guys. Goldwire's done a really good job, but that's really it as far as the older guys. And so they have guys getting adjusted to new roles. And they have talent, and they're good. They just maybe right now, early, haven't been dominant like some previous Duke teams have been. And when you're there, you understand there's a different type of pressure. And a lot of times you're not allowed to go slow. You're judged very, very differently nationally because of the history. And I commend those guys, the players, because they're the ones that are showing up every day. They're working. They're doing this in a pandemic, in a time that's unlike any other, under incredible judgment and scrutiny. And they've still showed up. Looks like they've had really good attitudes. They play hard. You can tell they really care. And they're going to be a good team. It seems like they're a little bit healthier now. Listening to the conference call this morning, it looks like Johnson's going to play, has been practicing. He was one of the more talented. He's one of the more talented freshmen in the country. And I know before the season and early in the season, he was, a mock draft top 10 guy. And so when you introduce that back with the improvements from earlier in the year of Stewart, of Roach, Hurt's one of the best players in the country. So they're good. It's just, they just haven't been dominant like some previous Duke teams.
Jeff, your team has been affected by COVID as much, if not more, than most programs. How is it that you played two games in 25 days, and your second game in 25 days is one of your best?
I don't know. I don't know how. I'm glad that we did, but I hope we play great tomorrow night. We're going to have to play really well tomorrow night in order to win.
Jeff, Justin is Player of the Week. Beyond what the obvious highlights were, as you studied tape, what stood out to you about his performance?
Really just, the fact that I thought as the game went on, he became less hesitant and wasn't worried about his knee as much. Not that he was early, but it seemed like that he was kind of feeling his way through, which is to be expected. He hadn't played, since December 16th. And in that game, he was mired in foul trouble in the first half. And so it was probably the last game he played was probably one of the lowest minutes game that he played. And so that's to be expected, kind of feeling his way through. But once he got a feel, he wasn't hesitant, and he just played.
Jeff, coming off of what I'd say is you guys' most complete win, what are you talking to your players about, trying to get the quick turnaround and get them focused and, make sure this win doesn't go to their head and they stay focused on improving the areas that you see them needing to improve on to keep moving forward?
Well, there's a lot that we have to improve on. We have a 24-hour thing that's over with. By the time we came back to practice the next day, it's time to move on. This game presents different challenges. Number one, we haven't played against man-to-man since December 22nd. And we've just played 2 games against zone. And they're a man-to-man team that's going to pressure, that's going to switch things, that's going to do things differently. And so that's a different challenge for us. For the last couple of weeks, we've been trying to figure out how to attack a zone. So that's different. Guarding a guy like Hurt, because, and especially the way Coach uses him, he's a difficult matchup, and so trying to figure that out. And, So those are the things that we've tried to concentrate on. Look, everyone can talk about, best whatever, like it's over with. We're focused on Duke, and hopefully we can have a really good win tomorrow.
Jeff, there were some times when Terrell and Kareem got into some foul trouble, and you played some really small lineups. You had Noah and Will at the 5. How comfortable are those guys in that spot, and how crucial do you think staying out of foul trouble is going to be for those 2 more experienced big guys you have?
Yeah, I mean, we did it at Northwestern where we had some guys in foul trouble, and Noah came in and gave us some really good minutes. He came in for the last whatever of the Syracuse game, and we didn't play well. We didn't play well during that stretch. It is important for us to stay out of foul trouble everywhere. That's been something that's been a thorn in our side all year, whether it's Xavier being in foul trouble or the bigs, whoever it is. We need to have our better players on the court as much as we can.
Coach, how much would you say your philosophy or schemes are similar to Coach K?
I don't know. Yeah, it's a great question. I don't know philosophy or scheme. I don't know. He has impacted my life, just me as a man, besides my father, more than anyone. A lot of the principles that I try to live my life by are some of the things that I learned, during my time there as a player. And I learned probably a lot more when I went back there as a coach. But I don't know as it relates to, game to game or practices and things like that. There's some things that are, but there's some things that are unique to me. And that comes from when I was 27 years old. I got the job at VCU, and it's my first job. I've been coaching for 2 years. And one of the best pieces of advice I got was from him. And he said, don't try to be me. Don't try to be your dad. Be you, and who you are is good enough. And I've tried to do that. I think I've gotten better as the years have gone along, and as I've gained experience in this profession and just gained experiences as a man. But he's had an incredible influence on my life and continues to have an influence on my life.
Jeff, I don't know how much you talk about this with your guys or how much your guys talk about it with you, but, even off to even with Duke unranked and off to a relatively slow start here. I mean, how much does playing them still really resonate? Because that is still that program with that history and everything that it represents. I mean, can you kind of see it in your guys, like they're up a little bit more for a game like this?
Yeah, it resonates with everyone. It's Duke. It's the gold standard of college basketball. And as long as he is on that sideline, it will be that. I don't care what their record is or anything. I was there the last team that didn't make the tournament as a player. And even though we were 2-14, we stunk. We sucked. And there were people still stormed the court when they beat us. So it's still Duke. It doesn't matter. And our guys are definitely up for it.
Jeff, obviously you have your own team to worry about, but do you still find yourself, checking the Duke score, seeing what they're doing on a night-to-night?
Yeah, yes, but I do that with all the ACC teams. I try to figure out and look at what's going on in the league. I try to watch everyone when I can, when my wife and daughters let me have the remote and allow me to watch some games.
Jeff, you mentioned how Coach K told you to be yourself. But what's the one thing basketball-wise he taught you to do as a coach? Maybe that you still do, that he did, that you also do as a basketball coach.
Well, one of the things that I've tried to do at every place that I've been, whether it was VCU, Oklahoma, and now here, is I've tried to instill in each program that you have to fight to be really good. Like nothing is given. You have to fight. You have to earn it. I think one of the things that people fail to remember or realize or even talk about now, because of all the success that program has had. If you think about it, I think his first NCAA tournament was 1984. And they made the tournament every year since then, except for 95, which is the year he wasn't there, or the second part of the season. But I think because of all the success, the championships and all those things, people forget that that's what that program is based on. fighting. He had to do that right down the road from Carolina and Coach Smith, and right down the road from Coach Valvano. In 82, Carolina wins the championship. In 83, NC State wins it. That's right around the corner. And so that program had to fight. You had to do that. When I was there as a player, we had to relearn that after 95. And so that's the thing that I've tried to take everywhere I've been, is that you have to fight, you have to earn it, and you have to do it every day.
Coach, Pitt and Duke, in terms of their ages, kind of some differences there. You guys are led by some older players. They're led by some younger players. And you've worked with kind of different kinds of teams in that way. Can you talk a little bit about the differences between working with a younger team and working with and more experienced teams, and kind of what different challenges those two types of teams would bring?
Yeah, well, when you have a more experienced team, you have guys that have played in games. They understand how to work a little bit different. They understand you as a coach. They understand the practices, the level that you have to work. A lot of young teams don't. Young guys, that's something that they have to learn. This year is different because the learning curve is very different because of what's going on in the world. And so it's been a little bit more difficult for freshmen to have the type of impact that maybe they've had before because of, what's happened in the world. And you didn't have the summer, you didn't have some of the things that you normally have with your team building. And so I'd say that's the main difference. When you're experienced, you've played games. We have some guys that have played games together. They played seasons together. And so they understand it maybe a little bit more. Now, if you have incredible talent as freshmen, then that's a little bit different too. When you have pros walking out there at every position, that's a little bit different.
Coach, speaking of freshmen, can you talk about the play of Femi? He seems to be getting more and more comfortable with each game.
Yeah, he is. And I think he's played really well. I would say the main thing is that he's learned how to work. That's been one of the biggest changes. He doesn't look now at extra work as punishment. A lot of young guys, when they get here, and again, I understand it because, you've been the best player or one of the best players on your team. And sometimes you can go really hard in practice, and the practices are different. They're more intense. And when it's over with, you're tired, you're exhausted. And then you say, hey, let's do something extra. And they kind of sulk or whatever. He's learned to embrace that because I think he's seen the result of it. And so I think he's been really good. He's been good on both sides of the ball, but he has a chance, I think, to be really good. And I'm excited the fact that he's embraced the work, embraced the process.
Jeff, you talked after the game about Au'Diese Toney's defense and how you feel like he's been maybe a little bit underrated because of the impact he's had on your team. What do you feel like are the attributes that make him such a good defender? He's obviously athletic, but what makes him so good at that role?
Good size, like you said, athletic. He's tough-minded. He has the ability to really lock in on a guy. You give him an assignment. He's a guy that can be difficult to screen. And again, I just think it's his mindset. I think he's a really, really tough kid. And so I think a lot of times that's what defense is toughness. The footwork, all that stuff you have to have, but you have to have it right here, and you have to have it right here. And he's always had it right here with experience. He's been a little bit better right there.
All right, no further questions. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Jeff.